Okay, thank you. I want to acknowledge Dave and Lucia once again for facilitating the Zoom class. And I want to say buonasera tutti, because this, I think, is so exciting. And I also want to do some basic introductions. This is a long-term project that transitioned when Madeline took the library chair, and she took the ball running. In addition, and it's important to acknowledge this, that Santa Clara County history grant has given the Italian American Heritage Foundation a substantial 3-year grant to do library, photo, archives, and oral histories. So we're going to get a lot of support in this activity, but you know, it can't, the vision can't be done without the support of members and also without the creative energy of everybody here. So we actually have started the prototype of this. We started the prototype before we got the grant, but the grant was a godsend for us to get to this point. So I think that's just by way of background. And this Zoom program is part of the holiday market. And I also want to point out to check the market site, because we have other events that are coming on next week as well. So we're going to have, for example, Marie Daldorf cooking traditional Ligurian style ravioli. And then we're also having the holiday dinner at Palermo. So I'm not going to go into the detail because you can go online for that. So without further ado, because Madeline has an amazing presentation, we went over it Sunday, and it's very exciting. So Madeline, I'm going to mute myself and turn it over to you.
I would like to say something for just a second here. Okay. If anybody's having problems hearing or visualizing, just wave your hands and I'll be able to do some other things. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. I'm muting. Madeline, you're on.
All right, Ken. Thank you very much. Boy, I'm not sure how to follow that. Well, first of all, Ken is right. We've been working on this for upwards of 2 years. And I want to take a moment to acknowledge the people who have helped me, because I've really had some wonderful volunteers. When I first started in the library, my group consisted of Marianne Jenko, Susan Toussaint, Chris Gilchrist, who's with us tonight, and likewise Francis Mazzanti. They were there in the early stages when I had to pick a platform for our library card catalog. And they're the ones that helped get the books cataloged, assign Dewey Decimal numbers, get the books labeled, get them on the shelf in order. And so when you go to our card, find a book, you can get a call number on it and go right to the shelf and find that book. So the only caveat is that the English and the bilingual books have all been cataloged. The Italian books have not. COVID kind of interrupted us in the middle of that. So those still have to be done. Since COVID started, I've had to do a lot of, well, there's been a lot of learning curves. I had already put plans in place to digitize things and get them online, but that got moved up when I couldn't go into the library anymore. And I got a new group of interns, Michelle Parashak. She's here today. Michelle, where are you? Well, I saw her earlier, and also Gail Grott and Ivy Marks. And I am just so lucky to have these people in my corner. This latest group of 3 all have experience working in a public library system. One of them has experience with curbside checking, so this might be a good time to say that I am looking at starting curbside service in the not too distant future. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking maybe by January 1st, but I have to run it by the board. We have to make sure we're doing things correctly. But that's an exciting development. So really take a look at the books we have, because there might be something you want here. In addition, 2 of these latest volunteers are actually students in the master's program for library and information science at San Jose State University. And it's been such an incredible opportunity to work with them. They're so full of ideas and suggestions. Gail, who hopefully will be able to join us later, she actually specializes in handling large collections, archival collections. So she and I have worked closely on developing the photo collection. We started, by the way, Nancy Moriale and I started digitizing some of those photos back in 2013. And now here we are in 2020, and it's coming to fruition. Before we're done, you're going to see some of that photo collection online available to the public. So it's to me, it's just like tremendously exciting. So the question arises, why are we going through all this work? Why are we doing all this? The reason is this library has a lot of gems in it. This has a lot of historical stuff, well worth preserving and making public. And so that's my goal. That's what I'm going to do. We are specializing in West Coast Italian American assimilation into America, basically. It's a really, really different story than the East Coast. It's more agricultural. There was more land here. And there's a lot of material, a lot of analysis of the East Coast Italian American experience, not so much on the West Coast. So I do feel kind of a responsibility to seek it out, preserve it, and present it. And I really envision the library as being a future resource center for the West Coast, or even the nation and the whole world, if we can organize this stuff correctly. We have a lot of self-published books by local authors that are out of print, so you're not going to find them anywhere else. You can't just go to Barnes and Noble and order them. So I'm particularly paying attention to those and protecting them. One that comes to mind offhand is Italianata, which was a really nice study of early Italian American families in the San Jose area. And he painstakingly, the author painstakingly went through every phone book in the early 1900s and wrote down the family names and where you could find them, what towns they were living in. It's a great resource. There also is a half-a-page article about Mrs. Bressani, who I wasn't familiar with before. It turns out that she was the midwife to the Italian American community. And I wrote about her in one of my columns. There are some people around whose parents were delivered by her. And I would love to get a birth certificate with her name on it. That would really be wonderful to have in our library. But all these things get lost over time unless we find a way to preserve this information. And, it's our culture. Nobody else is going to do this for us. It really is, it's in our hands. We also have a lot of cookbooks, and some of them, the people were so passionate about preserving the recipes from their part of Italy that they're handwritten, and they're really nice. We have a great resource for that. So those are things that you can't replace. And I want to do a shout out to Maria Gloria. She has a really tremendous personal library. And this past year, she gifted us, Ken, was it a couple hundred books, I think? All different subject matter, all wonderful books and very contemporary, because a lot of our library is a little aged and old. So a lot of contemporary books came in. We were right in the middle of processing them and getting them on the shelf when COVID shut everything down. So right now they're almost there, but they are stacked on a table. But, as soon as we can get back in there, we'll continue on that. Another book that I want to get is Voices from the Orchards. So many people here, their parents and grandparents worked in the orchards. And there's a book on the local orchards. It's very detailed. And it talks about the equipment that was used, what a typical day was like, the fruit that was harvested, the seasons that they followed, what daily life was like for the pickers. It's got a ton of information, and it's also got oral histories in there. They've actually interviewed a lot of people and they're quoted. So that kind of stuff is gold. You know, we really want that. And as I said, I still need to get a copy of that. We are the repository for the Italian American Heritage newsletters. And the significance of that is that this organization has been here since 1976. We've been very active in the community. It's been philanthropic, but there's no written history of this organization. The only written history at this point is in these newsletters. And what I noticed is that they are all packed away in these little folders and all bound up and up on the highest shelf in the library where nobody can reach them. So basically they're inaccessible. We're going to be talking about that because we're going to be putting those into your hands too. We are also the repository of a sizable photo archive, a lot of historic photos of San Jose. And the significance of this is that many of them have been donated from private family collections. How wonderful is that? You're not going to find these photos anywhere else. So again, we have a responsibility to take care of these. And I also want to mention, since I've been librarian, Robert Dahl, who's a relative of the Vanassa family ran the Torino Hotel. He has brought in their private photo collection, and that is partially digitized now. We are still working on that. A lot of it is cataloged, and you'll be seeing one of those photos tonight in the presentation. They're beautiful. We are the repository for several genealogies of local Italian-American families. These are detailed genealogies, they're books, not just a couple sheets of paper, they're books. One is a hardbound book. And so those are really wonderful to have. And because I love genealogy, I'm going to give you a quick look at those. We also have, thanks to Bessie Nicosia, we have what I call a docu-photo album of this one woman and her travel to America and her life here in America. It has original documents. It has citizenship papers, her citizenship certificate, naturalization stuff. It's just got wonderful original documents that you can hold the book in your hand and look at them. It's really wonderful. And last, and certainly not least, is we have acquired 10 to 12 early Italian language newspapers. And what's special about this is that they're not found elsewhere that I can find. And I've done searches. In particular, we recently acquired La Voce del Popolo from 1908. I did a search at the San Francisco Archives. I called their library and talked to the librarians there. I checked the Library of Congress. They don't have any, I can't find any issues of this paper from any year. So as far as I know, we have the only copy that has survived. Now that might be a stretch, but until another one turns up, we have the only one that's going to be able to go public. I checked the State Library, I checked WorldCat. I just couldn't find this paper anywhere, and it's long defunct. So that's a treasure. We have L'Italia from 1947. We have several issues. Post-World War II, when Italy was rebuilding. Again, I can't find these issues anywhere. So these are really wonderful to have them in our hands. So that's what I wanted to say about why I'm passionate about the library and why I'm working so hard to protect it and make it public again. Because how do you make it public? COVID was a curveball to all of us. But I really want this information to get out there. So the answer, of course, is digitizing it and putting it online, which sounds simple, but actually carrying that out, I mean, there's just so many details to think about and different platforms that have to work together. But we've done it. I have a great group of volunteers, and I think you're going to be really pleased with what we've done. So the grant could not have come at a better time. And I'll say it again, it's a grant from the Santa Clara County Historic Grant Program. And kudos to Ken, he applied for it. And the name of our particular grant is the Library Archives and Oral History Project. Excuse me. Pardon me. So the scope of what I'm able to put online, because obviously we don't have ebooks. I can't put the text of a book online, but I can list it in our card catalog and give you an idea of what we have and what the book is about. And right now we have about 1,000 books in our catalog. So you can look at those, and you don't have to be a member. We are a public library. Anyone, anywhere can do a search and find these books and see what we have. If you want to check out a book, or if you want to place a hold on a book, or you also have the ability to leave a comment. If you find a book and you read it and you really like it, to do that, you do have to be a member of our library. It's like getting a library card, but we don't have cards. But our volunteer, Ivy Marks, is handling all of that. So you can let me know if you'd like to be a member, and we can get you set up. It's not difficult to do. So the other thing in the library catalog is our newsletter archive. I'm bringing them to you. What I mean by that is we're posting them online so you can actually read them. We're also indexing them a little at a time. We're in the early stages of this, which means you can go to our card catalog and do a search on a subject and find out which newsletters talk about that subject. And then you can click on the link and go read the article. So that's a lot of power in your hands. Same for the photo collection, this historic photo collection. Those are now starting to come online. We have a lot of work to do. But those are also listed on our card catalog, and you can access them very easily. And in the future, we'll be doing the Italian language newspapers as well, if you'd like to take a look at that. We also are tapping into some outside sources because of COVID, because we're limited in where we can go and who we can have in. I'm trying to find as much digital content as I can to give you information. And some of the places I'm looking at is the Library of Congress. The Library of Congress, they have all this material that was generated right after the Depression by the Work Projects Administration. And one of the projects they took on was they sent out a lot of people to conduct oral interviews of all kinds of ethnicities and occupations. And they did a whole series of papers. You'll find them in a PDF format. They did them on stone cutters, granite carvers. They did all these oral histories. And this was specifically from Bar, Vermont, where that marble was considered to be superior. And there was a very, very active community there, excuse me. So those are now, a whole bunch of those are listed in our card catalog. If you're interested, you can read them. There's a direct link to take you to each of those stories. I also found recordings of Sicilian folk songs, which I thought was really exciting, along with photos of the singers who are preserving them. And these were done in the 1930s. So these are older songs that probably many of them have gotten lost over the years. So we're going to link them into our library. And if you're interested, you'll have access to them again. Now, I do have to say the recordings are old. They're from the 1930s. So they're a little scratchy and a little hard to hear sometimes. But it's a pretty amazing resource to tap into. I even found a movie, a silent movie from 1915 called The Italian. And that's about the trials and tribulations of an Italian that comes over from Italy. And he establishes a shoe shine thing, makes a little money. He brings over the woman that he loves. They get married and start a family, but things go wrong. And I don't want to tell you too much about the movie. It's a little over an hour. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but I definitely want to go see that. And it sounds like it's quite a heartbreaker, because in New York, around the turn of the century, life wasn't easy for the working class, especially for a new immigrant from any culture. So that is in our library, and you can look that up. Santa Cruz also has a wonderful selection of oral histories. And while I was browsing through them, I found one on the Stagnaro family. One of their members, Malia Stagnaro, has been around for a long time. I think he was born in the early 1900s. And he did this amazing interview. He runs down the whole development of the fishing industry in Santa Cruz, and the development of the tourist industry, and the settlement of the Genovese fishermen in that town. So that's got some photos, it's got some illustrations. It also has like 7 hours of you can actually listen to the original taping, the audio part. So you can link to that through our library. So I'm trying to open up the world to you. I'm trying to really give you a lot of material that you can just experience from your desk in your house. So that's what's making the focus of the library different. So I'm going to start sharing. I think it's time to actually take you there and show you some of these things that we've been talking about. Okay, so now you should all be seeing my screen. Well, let me show you. I don't want to start in the library. The way you get to our card catalog is to go to the homepage for our foundation. So I've made this as simple and direct as I can to make it really easy for you to get in and out of it. Here is the library tab. And under that, you can see library catalog, newsletter archive, and a way to get in touch with me if you want to talk to me. Photo archives we're going to be removing. We found a different way to go. This website wasn't a good place to put it. But let's go to the library catalog. It actually brings us to the library page, which has recently been updated and simplified to make it easy to navigate. So you have two buttons up here, the library catalog and the newsletter archive. And this is what we're going to be linking to later. I'm going to show you the newsletter archive briefly. Right now, we go back to 2010. I've actually found the very first newsletter that the Heritage published. That will be going up there within a month, I'd say. Also, all of the paper copies we have from the 1970s have been digitized. Thank you to that Santa Clara grant. Those will be going up soon, and those will become accessible. So I wanted to show you that page. So now we're back on the main library page. This is the way to get into the catalog. You just click on that. And here we are. This is our home page. So this is my information, obviously, my login. If you become a member, you'll have your own login there. And I want to point out, down at the bottom, you see these images scrolling by. The last thing we put in were photo archives. And so that's what it's showing you, the new material. Here's some of the PDFs from the Library of Congress. So it shows you new arrivals, and it scrolls through about 3 of those. Here is your search catalog. You can look over these if you want. They're not really that important to our presentation tonight. So I'm going to just go here. And let's say, I recommend you start with a short one-word thing. Be very careful how you type. If there's a typo, it won't find things. It doesn't, a lot of search engines, you can get it a little bit wrong and it'll come up with similar spellings. This one doesn't. This one is exact. But I'll explain why I chose this platform in a little bit. I've been really happy with it. A couple of drawbacks, but nothing is perfect, but it fits our needs really, really well. So let's say you type in religion and you just hit enter or click on search. Now we're in our card catalog. These are books that we have. And you just look down here and it's saying that there are 5 pages worth. Well, that's a lot. You might want to narrow that down. So you can stay with religion if you want, and you can say, well, you know, right now I just want to look at saints. I'm interested to see what we have in saints. So you do that. And now all of a sudden, it's a lot more manageable. We have about 8 of these, or 1, 2, 3, 6 of them. Okay? And so now you can start looking at them and going into them. Just click on the title. So this one is The Saints in the Lives of Italian Americans. And what you'll notice about this, I know we all get tired of information overload. I think they do a really beautiful job of displaying these. There's a lot of white space on this page. Things are nicely spaced out. It gives you time to look at it and absorb it. This image on the right is a scan of the actual cover. So this is what you're looking for on the shelves. You see this is a book. It's not audio visual. It's not a DVD or a CD or anything like that. It's an actual book. It's got a few authors that contributed to this. You don't need to worry about the ISBN number. And the category is religion. And one thing you can do to do a quick search is say, well, you know, I like this book and it's in the category of religion. Let me browse other in the religion category. And there they are. So you can do a real one-click search, which I think is really handy. So we'll go back to this book. Let me see what else. This is a first edition published in 1999. The publisher is Forum Italicum, which is a really high-level publisher. They have some really wonderful stuff. And we've got dozens and dozens of their books. And I want to get all of them really well indexed because they even have one book has an article about the early theater scene in San Francisco. And there's another one on the theater scene in New York. And we're talking about the early 1900s, possibly the late 1800s. So this is stuff you'd have a really, really hard time finding this anywhere else. Here's a description. If you want to know what the book is about, you look at the description and it'll give you a summary. And I want to point out, kudos to the volunteers. They're entering all this information, even tags that you can search on. And you see there's saints right there. So you search on saints and this will come up. They are putting in the descriptions. They are putting in these photos that you see. It's a lot of work, but it's incredibly satisfying. And I'm just so happy with the results. If you look down here, you'll see a call number. One of the first things that I did when I took over the library was I knew we had to find a way to locate whatever book we wanted. So our first job was to assign every book a Dewey Decimal number and get them organized that way. And then the volunteers set about typing up number labels for every single book, putting them on the spines, entering them into Librarica, and getting them on the shelves. So you can find 235.20, just go right to that on the shelf and get that book in your hands within a couple of minutes. And considering that we have about 1,000 books there, that's a pretty good feat. And Librarica isn't so good at this, but it thinks these might be similar books. So you might want to look at the related items and see if there's something there that you might like to find. If you check the book out and you read it, you can log in if you're a member and you can write a review of it for other people to read. So let me see. I wanted to do some other searches for you. Oh, and we need to look at the top of this. This is home. This just brings you back to where we started. This is search catalog up here. This is database A to Z, and I'm not sure why you would ever need this, but if you remember that a book started with the letter O, but you can't remember the title, and that's all you remember about it, you could even go in and look all the books that start with O and see if you can find it there. You can look at new collections. So like I said, we've been really busy. Sacco and Vanzetti. I recently found some live footage online, and I felt it was significant to add because I just found out that right after they were executed, there was a huge funeral procession. And the government decided that none of that footage, news footage, should be aired because it was too inflammatory. They ordered, at that time, news came from the newsreel companies by and large. They ordered them to actually burn the footage they had taken so that it no longer existed. And after they were done with that, they went to the Hollywood companies and put tremendous pressure on them to not just warehouse the film, but burn it. So there's no official footage of it anymore. This is footage that was taken personally during the long funeral procession. And one of this is kind of silent, but someone took all the footage that's available. It's about 4 to 6 minutes, and they put it in chronological order so you can follow through. I think, let me check this one. No, there's another one that I don't think is on here yet. It's 12 minutes long, and it's a narrated version, and it puts it in historical perspective. And it's a really, really interesting one to listen to. And that's where I learned about the burning of the film, which I thought was really awful. So a lot of these right now are some of the archival photos because they're new. We're looking at new collections, and that's what I've been working on. Let's see, let's go back to search catalog. We're trying to make this multi-dimensional, so I'm sure all of you remember our member who passed away not too long ago, Shorty Joe Quartuccio, who was an accomplished country western musician. So we have material on him, and we start out, the top thing here is a book. We've got 2 copies of it. So we have a book on him, but we went farther than that. I found out from a search that David Cortese actually did a tribute to Shorty Joe at the San Jose City Council, and it's on YouTube. So if you say, wow, I'd really like to see that, click on it, and here it tells you audio visual. This is just, you know, the image of the beginning of the presentation. This was done in 2020, and the duration is 8 hours and 52 minutes. And again, there's a description. Check the description. In January, the City Council paid tribute to Shorty Joe Quartuccio. This is the entire tribute led by David Cortese. So let's say, well, you'd really like to see that presentation. This address goes right to YouTube. This is live. It's a live link. Just click on it. You're no longer in our library. You're now on YouTube, where all you have to do is click on it, and you're good to go. Now, it's opened up a separate window, so when you're ready, you can go right back to our library. And you can go back to the search results. Once in a while, it does this. So you click again, resend the search. It's a little annoying thing about this. And here we are back with the results of the search. We also have a video in the library, and it's got all kinds of bonus short films on it. But if you can't come into the library and you want to see it, the main documentary, that the director has been nice enough to make the main documentary available online for free. And again, that's on YouTube. And here it is. You just click on the link and you're there, and you can watch it to your heart's content. Oh, it's been behaving so long. Okay. And also you notice all these newsletters pop up. This is what I was telling you about earlier. We're actually starting to get to our newsletters as a resource of information. So let's click on the June newsletter. And this one is 8 pages long. This is what the cover looks like. And I can tell right there, that's a picture of Shorty Joe. The description is the index for this particular issue of newsletters. And it might be a little hard. This is a pretty simple one. Some of them are very long because some of our newsletters are 24 pages. You just have to look through here and find out, where does it say Shorty Joe? It's right here. Here's Shorty Joe. And Quartuccio, his last name is there also. And you see up here, it's on page 1 and 2. So this was in the president's message. It's not going to be a full-blown article, but if you'd like to see what the president had to say, who was Ken Borelli at the time, you just click on the link. It takes you right to our newsletter. All these things have been archived all these years, and now they're at your fingertips. And there's a picture of Shorty Joe, and you can read the text at your leisure. This is pretty wonderful stuff. Let's see if I missed anything else. One way to get around this problem, which is intermittent. Let's see how much we have here. We can go to the next page. So there's a lot to look at for Shorty Joe. This one popped up. Again, it's our archival photo. Shorty Joe isn't on it. However, there is someone nicknamed Shorty, and there is someone with the first name of Joe. So the search engine found it for us, but we don't really need that. So I'm going to go back to page 1. And let's check out genealogy, which is one of my favorite subjects. I've already put it in, so let's just do that. So here's what we have. We start out with books. We have several books on tracing your Italian heritage. And I actually use these in my personal library, and they're really good books. I would recommend them highly. This one, Our Italian Surnames. If you're curious if there's any significance to your particular name, you can look that up. And this was published in 1998. What's down here, which is really exciting, we're getting into our archival material again. The Fanelli family has given us one of their extensive family genealogies, which is several pages long. And I wonder if it tells us, I'm going to open this in a new tab, so I'm not going to disturb these search results. And that's one way you can get around that problem. This one doesn't say how many pages it is, but you see it's got a call number, so you can go right to the shelves and pick it up. We have a book on the heraldry of royal families of Europe, in case you think your family had a coat of arms and you want to check that out. Murder in Matera has a genealogy tag. It's an account of true events in her family, but the author has taken artistic license to fill them out, and she's made a really interesting story. I would highly recommend that. It's a great book. I've read it. I really liked it. It's pretty riveting. So here's some more Italian-American genealogies. The Maggi family, the Romano family. I think we may have one or two others. Some articles in the newsletters that you might want to check out. There's that. And excuse me, I need to refer to my notes because I sometimes miss things and I don't want to do that. So let me take a quick look here. Oh, Christ in Concrete. Ken told me about this book. I don't know how many of you know about this. This was an amazing book. I think it was this guy's first book, and it won all kinds of awards. It's written in heavy dialect, and it's written as a novel, but it's based on true events in this man's life. When he was a young boy, his father, a lot of the immigrants were working in construction, building a lot of the skyscrapers. The problem is the safety guards weren't there. They just wanted to get these buildings built fast and as cheaply as possible. So the title, Christ in Concrete, is about the fact that his father, while he's at work, they're pouring cement, and he somehow slips, falls into the cement as it's being poured and is buried in the cement. And it happens on Good Friday, I believe. So there's a lot of significance there. And the book, it's really rough. I mean, things were very, very hard for this family, but this is a really groundbreaking book, and I would highly recommend it. It's written in a heavy dialect. There were passages where I had to sound the words out so I could hear what he was, because they're not spelled the way we would normally see them in English. They're kind of phonetic, so I had to sound them out. But it's such a riveting book. I didn't find that to be a problem. There are, again, it's mentioned in a couple of newsletters. Let me pick this one. And I'm going to look down here. Yes, this is what I'm looking for. On page 11, Linda Binkley had a column called Book Corner. She actually did a review of Christ in Concrete. I think it's almost a full page thing. So it's in detail. And it tells you right here, it's on page 11. So guess what? If you're curious, click on the link. That's all you have to do. You don't have to go looking for it. Just scroll down to page 11. Book Corner, there's her article right there. And you can read it. So it's a library. It's now a library where you can actually do research. You don't have to go chasing after stuff. And there's some fun stuff in here too. I'm going to go back to search. Really, there's so many wonderful articles. And we, again, for the newsletter, we pull in articles from all over the place. So I would highly recommend that you take a look at it. Sicilian cards. This was kind of fun. It's the painted cards of Sicily. That's what I'm looking for. This is a book, and I'm actually surprised that there is a newsletter article on this. And I was working with that today, so maybe it hasn't shown up yet. But you do see things on Sicily down here, so it's trying to find a connection. Ken, you had mentioned something the other day, and I actually did find it indexed. The Sicilians of Monterey. There it is. And if you do a search on it, you have to look through these newsletters, but we do talk about that opera. So that is in here. So another way you can search this is just put in DVD. And these are the DVDs that we have. You can look them over and let me know if you are interested in any of them. We also have some reviews in some of the newsletters. So you can do a search there. You can look for Library of Congress if you're interested in what we have there. And there's the Italian, the silent film I was telling you about, and apparently a newsletter article or some mention of it there. If you want to see the PDFs, or if you're interested in stone cutters, you could put in granite cutters. There's all kinds of terms you can search on. These are all those PDFs I was talking about. You choose one. This one is about the widow of a stone cutter. I didn't realize how dangerous a profession it was. And these talk about it. They go to a lot of funerals. But when they were cutting the stone, there was a lot of silica dust in the air. And they would breathe it in. It would clog their lungs and slowly kill them. And that was a really awful side of the story that I didn't know before. So they even included the oral history of the widow of a stonecutter. And that's really an interesting story. So here you see the front page of it. Here's the description. And here's the link. You click on it and boom, you're right there in the Library of Congress. This is it. And you can expand this and just, you click on a page and it'll make it bigger and you can scroll through it one page at a time. Or if that's too hard to read, you can just go to the PDF version. The PDF version sometimes has, seems to have more typos in it. And so I actually prefer to try to read the original one. Oh, we talked, I don't want this to run too long, but we did talk about this, the Damiano family. You'll see how wide-ranging this is. We don't have anything in our library about this family, but they are a significant family for this area. Definitely part of the West Coast story. So here's the oral history that I was talking to you about. You click on it. I found a nice portrait of Malio. I'm calling this an e-journal. This was done in 1975, part of the Regional History Project from the UCSC Library. 400 pages on this. And here's the description, an in-depth interview with Mr. Stagnaro about his family emigrating, et cetera, et cetera. So if you want to take a look at it, you go to the URL, you just click on it. Now you are in the archives of the University of California, Santa Cruz. Here's the PDF. You just scroll through it. Very, very easy to read. But I want to point out they have supplemental material, and it's up here as well. And what that consists of is the actual original video recording. So that's some of the stuff that I wanted to show you. And I want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything, so excuse me for a minute. The Tarantella, we did, especially for the board, if you're wondering, who do we have here? Who did that Tarantella presentation? I wonder if they're local and if we can find them again. So whatever the event is that you are hoping to recreate, you type in your search word, and now you've got a book on the Tarantella. This is also, let's open this in a new page. This is also part of our local history collection. This is, one of our members, I think, put this together, Cara Di Maria. And it's actually 103 pages long. It's in a binder. This was apparently a labor of love of hers. And this is something we have in our library that you're not likely to find anywhere else. In addition, somewhere in this book is a discussion of Tarantella, and you'd click on that and go look at the description to see what it says. In our newsletters, we talk about the Tarantella. And one of these is going to have a review of the event. Dancing, everybody dancing the Tarantella. Look at that. There's even a photo of it on page 4. Click on the link. You go to page 4. It's not a big article, but if you want to know who it was, there's your information. So how long did that take me to track that down? This is a wonderful, wonderful resource. But we're not done yet. Now let me check my records one more time. And I'm going to try to wrap this up because we've been talking for a while. I showed you the DVDs, and good. Kind of the jewel in our crown, as I think of it. I love books. Don't get me wrong. I love books. But this next thing, we're going to turn our attention to the photo archives. And let's say you're not interested in a book today. You just want to see what we have in our photo archives. Here we are, photo archives. Here are pictures that we have. And then it gets into some, there will be some books mixed in here. There might be some articles because I know I wrote about it in my column, and probably other people did too. So here they are. So how do you actually access our photo collection? We're housing it on Flickr. We can put 1,000 pictures up there at no cost. It's open to the public so everyone can see them. So here we go. You want to see some of our photos. Well, just click on that and it takes you, just like it's a book entry and a description of what's on this photo. So you click on the link. Here's the URL. Here we go. And you're now in Flickr. You are now looking at our photo collection, specifically this one. Now I can make this bigger. But guess what? All the photos that we have will be visible to you. This is Mrs. Brasani, the midwife. So you can just scroll through. We're going to set up a folder for memorials and obituaries. And that will be a great historical resource. What I want to show you is that if you scroll down, see right now you're just seeing the image. If you scroll down, you see that this is from the Italian American Heritage Collection. Oh my Lord, we just put this up on Saturday. It's already had 86 views from anywhere around the world. This is not exclusive to our organization. These photos are visible to anyone with a computer. I did a more extensive description explaining who he is and why his photo is significant. For the nerds of you, you can click on show this extended information. And this is all camera information. And it'll tell you when it was scanned in and stuff like that. Because the photo itself is so old, it won't tell you when the photo was created. It thinks it's telling you that, but it's not. So the other thing I want to say is any photo you look at, you can expand. Just click on that. And then you have a magnifying glass. You can expand it more. These are high definition photos. You get a lot of definition here. So I'm going to make that smaller. And the value in that is when you come to, that's a sweet photo of a baptism, the whole family's together. I love this photo. This is probably members of the Stagnaro family. These are fishermen on the wharf in Santa Cruz. And it's not labeled, but we can see the Santa Cruz boardwalk behind here. And we know it's from roughly the 1920s because look at these cars. So that helps us place the time of it. And if you want to see them, you can expand it. And again, it's high quality, so it's going to stay very good. Now, you also can click on our logo. It's a little slow. And here's everything we have loaded so far. A whole bunch of stuff. We have just started doing this. We have just started building this as of Saturday. We are still working with the bulk of the photos to get them named properly, to get the descriptions in there, to get tags on them. Because you might have, I don't know if you noticed the tags on the previous page, but that's how people find these. Look at this old electric, I love this old electric company photo. And this old shaving parlors, a lot of peddlers and vendors with horse-drawn carts, a lot of really fun things to see here. And so like if they say, like if you type in like Italian grocery store, you'd pull this one up because that would be in the tags. So you can peruse a lot of this stuff. It's just wonderful for me to see it online and finally available. And you can click on any one of them to see it in detail. You could scroll through. They want us to upgrade. So, but anyway, so here's these photos. And I think that is the bulk of what I wanted to show you. And at this point, I am ready to take any questions or demonstrate anything that you might have questions about. Any comments?
I have one. The things like the story I gave you,
yeah,
stories about people's families and stuff, are they going to be on here at some point?
You can't put a PDF on the card catalog. You can only put a link to it. So we have to figure out where we're going to put that. We might find a spot on the Heritage website, on the main website, to put those things there so people can call them up, just like they do the newsletters, and then read. Let me take a quick moment to explain this title. It looks imposing. It probably looks unintelligible to you, but I did a lot of research on how professional archives handle their photos, and this is their organizing system. We identify it as one of our photos by this identifier right here. The VIN identifies this particular photo as part of our Vinasa subset. This was taken circa 1930, and this is a portrait of Bartholomew Vinasa. So as we do this, let's say the Ayasa family, no matter how scattered those photos are, once we start identifying them as Ayasa photos, they're all going to fall into line. And so everything is going to be a lot more comprehensive and make a lot more sense. And if you want to do search on things, you're going to be able to find everything. It'll be more cohesive.
We're going to be using that grant money to expand our catchment and our projects. So this is timely because we're working with the grant people to do these allocations very shortly. So it's very exciting that we'll be able to carry this vision forward. That's all.
Hey, Madeline, it's Frank. I think you've done a tremendous job. Very, very wonderful organization, and it really sets us apart by having this.
Well, my hope is that we can contact other organizations and say, this is like a hub. We can all share this. We can give your organization more visibility. You can learn about us, but we can also give your organization more visibility.
Madeline, I just want to say I'm just so impressed with all the organization and what a valuable resource this is. I think it's just cutting edge and just really a wonderful thing. It's a lot of work you guys have put into this.
I really encourage all of you to go in there and play around with it. Just go to our website and it's just 2 clicks away, literally. So go in.
Before I think we close, people need to realize we have, this is a public library.
It is.
It's kind of interesting that since its founding, the Italian American Heritage Foundation has hosted a public library, and it's been recognized as such by the county. So I think, you know, what we're doing is expanding it a zillion times. It's just very exciting.
Yeah, just one other question, Madeline. You mentioned Michelle helped you on this, and were there other people that helped you on this project also?
Well, yeah, like I said, my original core of volunteers was Mary Jane Genko, who's dynamite at database entry. She retired from the library, not the library, the hospital, the Palo Alto Veterans Hospital. She worked there for many years handling large databases of information. Chris Gilchrist and Francis Mazzanti, who also, you know, they came in, I gave them assignments, they did what we needed to do. They laid the groundwork for this. And I need to also give a shout out to the summer interns that Felix sent my way. They are the ones that did a lot of the indexing on the newsletters, but we finally connected all the separate components and everything is working as one unit now. So that's what's important to know. And every week we are adding more material, and we're going to continue doing that till we get everything in there. Oh, and my latest round of volunteers. I did mention them earlier. There's Michelle, there's Gail, there's Ivy, and they actually have experience working in big public library systems. And they, 2 of them are actually in the master's program at San Jose State University, so they know what they're doing.
Well, that's kind of a nice concluding remark, unless there are burning questions, but people can get a hold of Madeline after this meeting. But you can see why we're all so excited about what we have here. And I'm sure we're going to get more funding to do this. So this is very exciting. Very exciting. Thank you, Madeline, and your entire committee.
Yeah,
Great
thank
job.
you very much.
Great job, Madeline. Lots of thanks.
Thank you, Madeline.
Thank
Okay,
you. It's gratifying to see everybody here tonight. I forgot to say, the Heritage has a YouTube channel, which you probably all know this, and there's about 25 videos up there on all different subjects. Every single video is cataloged in our online library. Just put in YouTube and they will all come up and you can click on whatever one you want to see.
Terrific. Thank you.
That sounds great. Thank
Okay,
you,
I
Madeline.
think that concludes our meeting. Next meeting will be something culinary, and that will be the ravioli program with Marie. You can check online for the date and time and how to access it. Thank you again, Madeline, and everyone for participating.
And be sure to check our website for a whole host of new events that we've got scheduled during the holidays, all the way through La Befana. We have a number of cooking classes and games and events to watch. We're putting together an exciting Christmas event on the 23rd and a New Year's Eve event. So be sure to check out all the offerings on our website.
Just for
Buonanotte. Buonanotte.
Okay, grazie.
Ken. Good night.
Good
We have
night.
to stay on. So
Ciao, Bella.
Yeah,
ciao,
because
ciao.
you hosted the meeting and so you have to close it out, huh?